Hey there, I'm back with another food magic video, and today's discussion is going to be about breakfast. Breakfast is a meal that is universally recognized as what we eat in the morning. The word in English refers to breaking the fasting period of the previous night. So breakfast is basically breaking the fast. Now, growing up in the 70s and the 80s, our eating habits was based off certain nutritional guides that were very well circulated back in the day. And it was believed that breakfast was the biggest part, the biggest or the most important meal of the day. And I do believe that Adele Davis, the American nutritionalist, was responsible for that. She was somebody who promoted breakfast and thought that the breakfast should be the biggest meal of the day. Her motto was, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. Breakfast was considered the biggest meal, the most important meal of the day. Now, mind you, in the modern age where people have to work, now in the 70s, some women worked, some men didn't. Some women worked and some women didn't, okay? Some women were home to sit here and cook breakfast all the time for their families, big breakfasts, and some weren't, okay? Now, of course, people had to work, and that, of course, altered the ability for people to have, like, regular family breakfasts. Also, people debated, whether what time breakfast should be served. Should you eat when you first get up in the morning, or are you somebody who just kind of wants to wait a little bit until you get hungry? Now, I'm one of those people who prefers to wait till I get hungry. Now, I know that Adele Davis was somebody who thought that if you ate big breakfast, that way you won't be hungry for the rest of the day. Okay, and I do think that it's important to be aware of when you get hungry. Okay, now in certain situations where, like, you're in a big family where everybody wants to eat dinner. Those are the good old-fashioned families, people who want to have meals together and spend that time, you know, socializing with their families or their friends, okay, in a big group on a certain time every day. Some people still actually, and it's rare, still actually have meals together. There are times where, somebody might come to that table and they don't have the appetite for food being served at 7:30 in the morning. I know when I was a kid, my mother would wake us up, get us ready for school, and she would pretend that she was kind of like a bartender, and she'd say, "Hey, what'll it be?" Right? And then she would serve each person either some cereal or some, pancakes or something like that, right? Sometimes, and I do remember as a kid not having an appetite but eating anyway. So here's the issue when it comes to eating food when you're not hungry. I personally think that doing that when you're not hungry trains you to continually feed yourself when you're not hungry, which can lead to the problem of obesity. So there's always problems when it comes to, and debates about when you should eat, what you should eat, and all of this, okay? To me, I believe in listening to your biological clock. Are you hungry at that time? So in the situation where you're having, like, lunch with breakfast with a bunch of people because they want to socialize at that time, if you're not hungry, just say, you know what, I'm not hungry, but I want to enjoy the association. So you could just sit and relax and have some coffee or something, okay? Or you could take something, show them that you're interested in their food and you're not rejecting them. You could take that piece of food or that meal that they prepared and save it for later. That's your option, okay? But when it comes to breakfast, like I said, I personally listen to my biological clock. And like I said, eventually, so at some point during the day, you're going to have to break that fast. So when it comes to magic, you want to make sure you break that fast uh, using something that is going to help you get to your goals. Now, the purpose of eating, there's two purposes of eating. Mainly, you want to nourish your body, okay? And you should be paying attention to that internal clock. What is it that you're craving? There's so many things to eat in the morning, okay? Maybe your stomach's feeling a little raw, so you might want to eat something that provides not only nutrition but a little bit of hydration because it helps your stomach feel good. It depends on what it is, okay? Now, magical eating is basically a form of meditation, right? Because what you're doing is you're adding sensation into thought process. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people are not able to meditate, because they have a hard time really getting into it. They're really feeling the sensation of something, okay? They have a very hard time just sitting there trying to like picture either nothing or just opening their mind in general, okay? When you are consuming your food, okay, and you're focusing on the representations of each food item and taking it into your body, you should be taking that time to savor each bite that you have and visualize what it is that you want. Okay, now I'm going to kind of go over different food items that are, you know, I would say common breakfast items. Okay, talking about, you know, your breakfast options. Now I do understand that most people's breakfast options are based on their week, right? Because a lot of people have to get up out of bed early in the morning, and the last thing they want to do is eat a huge plate of scrambled eggs, bacon, toast. A lot of people do not want to look at food when they first wake up in the morning, and I fully get that, okay? Some people want to feel a little bit more adjusted. They want to maybe sip on some coffee first, and that's totally fine, okay? The point is, at some point, to break your fast sometime during the day, okay? And the purpose is to fuel yourself up with energy nutritionally, and when we're talking about magically, to do so with purpose, okay? So I personally believe, this is my personal opinion, okay, that, you know, when you're hungry, you'll know the right time to eat, you'll know the right time to break your fast, okay? So let's talk about some food items, okay? The smell of fresh coffee each morning sets off like a wake-up alarm to many people. In fact, many people are adamant about having a cup of coffee every day. Are you one of those people? Coffee is a stimulant that aids in concentration. So whether you're a student, an employee, or business owner, you of course need to focus on your task. So coffee by itself is good, but you can always dress it up a bit. Let's make this coffee experience magical. Now, when it comes to coffee, I'm going to say that I'm a coffee sipper. I prefer to drink out of a commuter style mug. Why? Because it keeps my coffee hot. And I've had commuter mugs in the past that were able to keep my coffee hot up to about 3 hours, which is amazing. So I would pour maybe about 12 ounces of coffee into a commuter mug and just sit at my desk for a very long period of time, working, you know, diligently on my task and sipping coffee, not having to get up out of my chair to refill my coffee. Okay, so this is the great part about having a commuter mug, the fact that, you know, it keeps your coffee hot for a very long time. Now, there's a lot of coffee mugs that do have really cool symbols on it. Now, if you are a student or you work with numbers, perhaps you might want to be interested in this Metatron Cube commuter mug. Why? Because it's got the great symbolism for concentration, things that relate to numbers, as well as being able to keep your coffee hot. You can't beat it, right? Coffee is for concentration, and Metatron's Cube is something that accommodates that symbolically. Now, like I said, those are suggestions for people who work with numbers or people who are students who would like a little extra boost, okay? They're using the coffee for concentration as well as the focal point, the symbolism of the Metatron's Cube. Now, not everybody has that same goal, okay? Not everybody works with numbers. Not everybody needs to study for math, okay? So if you're using coffee as a form of magic in your meditation for concentration to help you with your task for the week, you know, you can base the image, the symbolism on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. In this case, like, I'm thinking about the Metatron's Cube for concentration, okay? Doing your work, your daily routines, either studying math or working with numbers, okay? Now, of course, other people have different goals. Some people's goals might be to find someone to love. In that case, there's plenty of, you know, mugs with love symbolism on it. Some people just want personal improvement or just something that represents them. In that case, you can look into something like maybe a commuter mug or just a regular mug, okay, with your astrological symbol on it, such as this one right here. Now, many of you know that I have had experiences in the workplace, okay? And mind you, I've been in some pretty bad situations. But I will say that I am very grateful for some of the employers that did supply coffee and the additional condiments that go along with the coffee, okay? So when it comes to life and how to get through it all, we all know that life can be crappy, okay? So we have to look for the little hidden nuggets, the little treasures, the little things, the small things to be grateful and happy about, right? So when you get a choice of what to put in your coffee, as small as it may seem, okay, you got to be grateful for it. Now, I'm a huge fan of International Delight coffee creamers. They offer a variety of different flavors, and it's such a delight to go into the coffee room and see a big selection of what you can choose. Okay, so let's just say, for example, it's Monday morning, right? And you're just you don't really have a specific goal in mind, but you do want to, concentrate and do the best job you possibly can. Look at all these little options that you have, and I'm going to kind of go over different flavors of the International Delights and what you can use them for in your magical working. When I was working, I would say that the International Delight flavor of hazelnut was like my staple. I would buy my own container of it if I worked in a company that did not supply, the variety of coffee creamers. I would bring my own and keep it in the refrigerator. Now, I focused on protection because I understood that I was a targeted individual and I just wanted the protection. Hazelnut could be used for luck, protection, and wishes. So each morning when I would get my coffee, I would take my hazelnut creamer. I would focus on being protected as I was pouring it into the cup and stirring my coffee. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a couple more of the International Delights that I've used in the past, and there's a lot of different varieties. Okay, so I'm only going to cover the ones that I've used to give you an idea and suggestion. By the way, everything that I'm showing, all the items that I'm showing in my video, I will be placing the link into the description box. Now you can buy International Delight coffee creamers pretty much anywhere at any supermarket, okay? But as far as like the items such as the Metatron's Cube and other items that I may feature, I'm always going to list them in the description box with a list so that you can, if you're interested in purchasing these items, you can do so, okay? Now I had to throw this one in there because I have never actually tried this particular flavor. Now, I just showed in the other slide the hazelnut variety. Just the hazelnut International Delight coffee creamer is what I used to use a lot, okay? When I was looking for an image for that item, this particular image came up, and I was not even aware that they had this as a flavor, but this is chocolate hazelnut, okay? Which, if I ever find it in the grocery store, I'm definitely going to try it, okay? But this hazelnut, obviously hazelnut represents either luck, protection, or wishes, and chocolate represents love and money, okay? Now you can focus on either anything that relates to either one of those attributes, okay? And like I said, if you're focusing on love, then the chocolate in this would be great. Of course, a lot of people focus on money. Most people are focused on the daily grind. So like when they get up in the morning, not only are they focused on doing their work, but they're also focusing on the fact that they have to do their work for the main reason why they need money, okay? So this would be a great coffee creamer option for people who just have that all around focus. You want to focus on luck, you want to focus on protection, make your little wishes. Everybody wants money and needs money. And then of course people want love, whether that be love of a romantic partner, a friendship, or even self-love. Now, most people who know me are aware of the fact that I'm a targeted individual. So there were times throughout the years where, of course, I didn't have a job, mainly because of my targeting and being associated with a network that would choose my employment. So I spent a lot of time out of work, okay? And during those times, I would find myself gravitating towards the Southern Butter Pecan flavor. This is for people who are interested in finding employment and who need money. Okay, this is what pecans represent. So this is just another option for people who are looking for work. Now, mind you, if you were, hopefully you're not associated to a network that prevents you from finding employment. So if you are somebody who's able to find work on your own, this is a really great option, okay? Mind you, it's not going to do you any good if you're associated with a network, because they're your obstacle that needs to be removed before you can actually attract that particular job that you're looking for. But anyway, this is a good idea. Now, International Delight makes a lot of seasonal type of coffee creamers that are, of course, only available at certain times during the year. Now, I wait for autumn time to roll around so that I can buy the pumpkin pie spice flavored. This one I use and focus for money and prosperity, okay, because this is something that pumpkins do represent. Pumpkins also are good for healing. Okay, but when we're thinking about how we're dealing with the work week and certain goals that we're trying to pursue on the day to day, I would say that money and prosperity are something that we focus on, to survive. Okay, and of course, healing is an important part of life, and there's times where maybe you're recovering from an illness or whatever, and perhaps maybe this might be a good choice for you while you're relaxing, convalescing, trying to get back on your feet. This might provide a certain amount of comfort in your healing process. But anyway, check out International Delight and on all their other different flavors during the holiday seasons. I know during the Christmas season they have like things that like peppermint and stuff like that, and they might, and reference the food list that I created to see, what some of these are good for. You know what I mean? How can you use them in your magical diet? But I'm going to call it the magical diet, because you're eating for the purpose not just to nourish your body, but to also help you towards your goals, constantly focusing on the things that you want and the things that you need in life. Okay, and this is how we do it, through food. Okay, like I said, about creating the sensation while you're sipping your coffee, okay, while you're eating your food. It's a form of meditation. Okay, now here's another one that I have not yet tried, okay, but I did stumble upon it, and hopefully if I see it in the marketplace I will get it. But this one is pistachio. I love anything pistachio. I love pistachio nuts. I like pistachio ice cream. I like pistachio anything. Okay, so pistachios represent health, happiness, and luck. Okay, so obviously I prefer pistachio things because I try to be happy or enjoy those little, precious moments that, that occur every once in a while, or give me the ability to recognize those important small things that happen in life but should be appreciated. I'm going to recommend pistachio. So if you can see this, you see this in your grocery store and you're looking for maybe improving your health, you want to be happy, you need a little extra luck, go ahead and try this pistachio. Now here's another flavor that I have not yet tried, okay, but I do know a lot of people do focus on issues relating to love, okay? And like I mentioned, love comes in different forms, okay? Sometimes we might want to have a relationship like a romantic love interest, okay? That's one form of love, okay? Sometimes love can be like a platonic type of love where you're seeking friendships. And then also, one of the most important kinds of love that people tend to forget is the love that they should have for themselves, okay? So if this is one of your goals to try to love yourself more, perhaps maybe try this French vanilla International Delight flavor, okay? And when it comes to using like a coffee mug, or like either a coffee mug or a commuter mug, if you're a coffee sipper, a long time coffee sipper like me throughout the day, you might want to choose colors like pink or colors like red if you're looking for romantic love. If you're looking for self-love, colors like pink, or a color that that resonates with you, that you associate with love personally. Some people associate the color green with love because it's like new, it's revitalizing, it's you know, something different. It's new, it brings life, okay? Depends on how you look at it, okay? But these are the sort of things and the sort of associations that you put together in order to work towards your goals. And so for love, I'm going to suggest French vanilla, and make your choice of what kind of container that you want to sip it out of. Now, sometimes age plays a factor in what you're going to eat in the morning for breakfast, because when I was a kid, I was not allowed to have coffee until, I forgot, there were certain rules that my parents made, okay? And we weren't old enough to have coffee, I think, until we were like 16 or something, because my parents always were concerned that, coffee was like a stimulant, right? But then again, if you think about it, caffeine is in hot chocolate, but they gave us hot chocolate. So whatever, maybe they didn't think about it that deeply, but in the mornings, hot chocolate is an alternative for perhaps kids who are not old enough to drink coffee, or some people don't, not everybody likes coffee, right? Well, chocolate is something that represents love and money. So if that's something that you're focused on, you can have hot chocolate as an alternative to coffee, or there's been times where I have blended the two, ended up throwing some instant mix into the coffee for flavor. You can get very creative when it comes to that. Now, I know that when I was growing up, my mom would throw in certain baking season flavors into the hot cocoa just to give it a little bit of a variation. So you could throw things like cinnamon, you could put things like nutmeg in your hot cocoa, things that relate to the magical specific desires that you have, okay? Use creativity, be creative. Orange juice is another beverage that I associate with the morning, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people do as well. Now, oranges can be used for love, luck, money, and of course to represent abundance. That is something that pretty much everybody needs, right? So a glass of orange juice is a wonderful way to start your day, okay? Now, there's been times where I have used orange juice as a form of meditation while I'm doing sun gazing, which is a practice that I've mentioned before, okay? And I don't recommend sun gazing to everybody, but I do think it's good to step outside and let your body be exposed to the sun for at least a few minutes during the day, maybe even just 1 minute, okay? Because the sun does give us like that revitalizing energy in our cells, okay? And what I would do was I would take the glass and have the sun beam its rays into the glass, and I would allow the sun, of course, to penetrate my third eye, and then I would sip the orange juice, visualizing things like abundance, okay? Now, when you're thinking about the work week, of course, you don't have time for all these rituals because you got to either be at work, get ready for work. There's a lot of scrambling, but this would be a good idea to do maybe on a Sunday, because Sunday is a day that represents so many things. And of course, to me, well, not necessarily just to me, but when it comes to oranges, oranges do represent the sun, which on Sunday, it's kind of aligned that way, okay? So this would be a good meditation for people who have that time to do this on a Sunday. But anyway, orange juice, of course, is another option that you could have while you're sipping during the day, deciding what you want to have for breakfast or to have along with your breakfast. If you're one of those lucky people who have an orange tree and can actually squeeze your own and make your own orange juice, I kind of envy that, okay? I know there's been times where, I've had people give me like a lot of different oranges in a bowl or a bag, and I had the pleasure of making my own orange juice, and I wish that could be like my daily routine. Unfortunately, it's not, okay? But if you are somebody who can squeeze your own orange juice, that's great. That's more concentration that you can put into that orange as you're squeezing the orange juice, as you're meditating on whatever abundance, love, or whatever it is, okay? And then also you want to utilize objects like of beauty for focal point, Like in this case, we're talking about orange juice, right? Oranges represent abundance. So not just when you're consuming them, but also depictions of them. Some people have, pictures of like fruit baskets in their house, and this is an old custom to represent prosperity. In this case, I'm looking at this vase, which I will put the link in the description box if you are interested in purchasing this pitcher for your freshly squeezed orange juice. Another drink that can be consumed at any time during the day, but somehow is associated with the morning, would be apple juice. Okay, and apples, of course, represent love, healing, and wisdom. And of course, what we eat for breakfast uh, during the day is kind of determined by what it is we're doing for that day. If you're using it for work, you might be focusing on the attribute of wisdom. That's what I would be doing, okay? And you could take that same commuter mug that's used to keep your coffee hot, you could probably use to keep your apple juice cold if you're somebody who wants to sip on your drink before you're deciding what you want for breakfast. Now, mind you, you can also use apple juice and drink it during your breakfast as well, okay? But these are just options, okay? Now, during the summer months or spring and summer, cold apple juice might be your thing, okay? But during the autumn time, you could drink things like apple cider, which could be, of course, served hot, adding your, spices of your choice based on the goals that you have. And of course, it could be put in the commuter mug. Cranberry juice can be used for protection. And when you think of protection, you might be thinking about protecting yourself, protecting your company, whatever it is that you're specifically focused on. Okay? While drinking cranberry juice, you can combine it with a form of symbolism, such as in this case, I'm using this dragon as an ideal or an example. Okay? You can also get your family crest made into drinking glasses, wine glasses, as well as beer glasses, plates, and everything else, okay? If you're, for example, wanting to create a family ritual for your family and you want to, do a group prayer to bless your family, you can use or do a toast with images of your family crest and consume cranberry juice. Okay, this works well with company logos, etc. Okay, just giving you some ideas for your breakfast rituals. Now, assuming you're not too hungry, let's start off with something easy to fix, and that's going to give you enough sustenance to at least last you till lunchtime. So when you break your fast, keep in mind your personal goals as well as your nutritional concerns, okay? So let's start off with something basic like toast. Now, toast may seem small, but we all know that bread is a representation of the divine, and it represents having enough, represents stability, being satisfied, and protection, okay? Toast can help us be grateful. So if this is the first thing that you consume during the day, then you can use that to connect with the divine and show that you're grateful as you're eating that piece of toast. When you're grateful, when you're in a state of gratitude, of course, you're going to receive more blessings, because when you recognize the things that you have, things just continue to flow, okay? So that modest piece of toast that you may not think is a big deal, you still have that piece of toast, meaning, a lot of people go hungry. So show that you're grateful. If you want to add butter, butter is known to enhance your spiritual experience, okay? So that toast and that simple butter can be used as a prayer to say thank you. That same toast can be used to attract love. In the food list, I have a list of jams, jellies, and preserves. You could use apple cinnamon, cherry preserves, orange marmalade, or strawberry to attract love on a piece of toast. And using jellies and jams such as blackberry or orange marmalade could help you attract money. Now, I remember my mom making this very basic treat for the kids. And it wasn't that big of a deal, but I loved cinnamon toast just as much as I loved it when my dad would bring home things like donuts, okay? It was one of the most flavorful and enjoyable treats that I remember as a kid. Remembering asking my mom to make more of it. Okay, cinnamon toast can be used for attracting spirituality, success, love, lust, and healing. Now, of course, all those jellies, jams, and preserves can be used not just on toast, but could also be used on bagels, right? Combined with cream cheese represents love and spirituality, and you can just put the jelly, jam, or preserves on top of the cream cheese. Round foods, especially those with holes in them, were considered lucky by the Greeks and a representation of the cycle of life in Judaism. In sacred geometry, the circle provides physical and spiritual protection. Bagels are available in different varieties. Eat a blueberry bagel for protection. For money and success, eat a raisin and cinnamon bagel. Eat a sesame bagel for money, protection, and for opening up opportunities. The same symbolism that applies to bagels also applies to donuts. Use donuts to attract luck, represent the cycle of life, and to represent physical and spiritual protection. Now, of course, this video is about breakfast, breaking your fast. Now, I will tell you, I'm the kind of person, I do not like breaking my fast with something sweet. Not, right after I wake up or even a few hours after I've been awoke for a while. I would prefer to eat, if I'm going to eat something sweet, I would prefer to eat it later on in the day after I have already had some sort of food that I believe provides some sort of nourishment, okay? Now, this is where everybody's opinion is going to vary. When we were talking about the whole breakfast is the most important meal of the day thing in the beginning of this video, not just the time, but what kind of foods should you eat in the morning? Now, I'm somebody, I base things off my craving, when I feel hungry, and it seems to work for me. Everybody's different, okay? Some people don't mind eating sweet things early in the morning, okay, for their first meal to break their fast, okay? That's an option. I would prefer to eat donuts in later on in the morning or in the afternoon if I was somebody who ate donuts regularly. It's your choice, okay? Listen to your body and how it feels, okay? But going back to the donut issue, donuts can be, if you are trying to capture the symbolism of a round item with a hole in it, you have the option in the morning, of course, of a bagel or a donut. Okay, those are your choices, right? Okay, so if you want something sweet, go for the donut. If you want something, that's not so sweet, you could go for the bagel. Mind you, you can add cream cheese to your bagel, and you can also use a jelly or a jam, preservatives or something as an addition to your to sweeten it up if you want to. Now it looks like in this case, this is a strawberry donut, okay? Now, if you wanted to have the equivalent of this strawberry donut, like for example, as a bagel, I do believe they have strawberry bagels, or you could get like a plain bagel, add cream cheese, and throw on some strawberry jelly, okay? This particular strawberry donut, you could use the symbolism of what a round object represents with the hole in it, which is like the cycle of life and protection of seen and unseen forces, so on and so forth, okay? You can use it to protect your love and your money, or you can also use it as a way of drawing in love or money, okay? And I just wanted to add about this strawberry donut. I have seen donuts like this, the similar donuts like this in bakeries. And, one of the things that I think is so appealing about it is the cute little pink frosting. Now, some people associate love with the color pink. I do, especially self-love. So there are times when you want to maybe treat yourself. This is a great color to, consume and, just kind of meditate on. Sometimes strawberry items not only are strawberry, but they look strawberry. In this case, we're looking at the pink icing. Now, when I was talking about the other version of the bagel, like I said, not everybody wants like totally like sugar, a sugar blast. And so like a bagel would be the alternative to the strawberry donut, meaning you're taking a plain bagel, you're adding cream cheese, and you're adding a little bit of jelly. It gives you a little bit of sweetness, but it's not like this full on like sugar overload that a donut's going to provide. Okay, those are your options. A chocolate donut can be used to protect or attract love and money. And I wanted to add really quick about decorations on donuts, things like donuts. They are pleasant, but they can also add to the symbolism. So like in this example where we're showing like a bunch of sprinkles, you know, you can visualize like the color yellow representing money. You can use the color blue to represent the heavens, giving you blessings, showering it down. Sometimes I've been to donut places where they have little things that they can stick inside of the donut, like maybe little images of people, cartoon characters, whatever. Sometimes you might stumble upon something that's a form of symbolism in itself, like emojis. Okay, I've seen in the past where they either use a icing squirter to create happy faces or use like one of those little cake decorating plastic toys to insert in there. You can look at that as happiness. You could look at those little emojis as representations of what you want. Sometimes, you know, I've seen those little emojis to represent love with the little hearts as eyes. You know, just use your creativity when it comes to food magic, okay? So the next time you're picking up donuts at your local bakery, you might want to pay a little bit more attention to not just the flavor of the donut, but of course some of the images that are put on the donuts. Now I'm somebody who loves like experimenting with frosting colors. You know, if you're interested in tranquility, you might want to look at a donut that's blue in color. Or if you're interested in healing, you might want to think about a green color donut. Mind you, blue is also a color for healing. I'm looking at these different donuts. I know in the back, like on the left hand side, you'll notice that there's like a spider web looking type donut. During the holidays, you know, you can find fun type things, but we know that spider webs do have symbolism. You know, it's a form of, it represents creativity. Okay, so these are the sort of things and options that you can look at throughout the year when you're making these choices to help you towards your goals. Now, I would like to say that not all donuts have holes in them. That doesn't mean that they're not special. A lot of them have, you know, unique shapes. For example, in this particular picture, we're looking at a star shape. Okay, and we know that stars are a very protective symbol. It represents man and as well as the five elements, right? In this case, cinnamon and sugar combined together is a representation of spirituality, success, love, lust, and healing. So when you see these unique shaped donuts, you know, you might want to take those into consideration as well. I know the autumn, you know, is coming up the next season. Well, actually, we're coming up to summer, but pretty soon it'll be autumn before you know it, okay? And cinnamon and sugar donuts, whether they have a round hole, they're round with a hole in it, or they're in another shape, you know, is a great thing for autumn, as well as to bring in, you know, things like, you know, success and love. Okay, so now you've learned that round foods with holes in it, such as donuts and bagels, attract luck, can be used to represent the cycle of life, and provides physical and spiritual protection. But you know what else you could use? You can use round cereals with holes in them, and you can choose the color bowl that you want to have it in. Let's go through some of our options. Cheerios is a brand of cereal manufactured by General Mills here in the United States and in Canada. The cereal consists of pulverized oats, and they're made in the shape of a circle. Cheerios were originally introduced on May 2nd of 1941 and marketed under the name of Cherry Oats. On December 2nd of 1945, the name was changed to Cheerios after their competitor Quaker Oats claimed to hold rights to the name oats. Pulverized oats is what Cheerios are made out of. Oats represent money, and of course we know that foods with holes in them attract luck, represent the cycle of life, and provide physical and spiritual protection. Overall, I would say that Cheerios is a money-drawing cereal. 35 years later, General Mills introduced Cinnamon Nut Cheerios. It made its debut in the stores on July 3rd of 1976. Nearly 3 years later, on March 1st of 1979, Honey Nut Cheerios was introduced and sold approximately 1.8 million cases in its first year. General Mills introduced special versions of Cheerios from time to time. In 2020, Toasted Coconut Cheerios was sold as a limited edition. In 2021, they introduced the Chocolate Strawberry Cheerios. And Frosted Lemon Cheerios was introduced in 2023. Keep your eyes open when you go to the grocery store because Cheerios tends to introduce a lot of different cereals that may be something that aligns with your goals. So keep your eyes open. Here's a list of common fruits that are usually sliced up for cereal. Cereal can be eaten dry, but it's often served in a bowl with milk. You have your options. Cow milk represents love and spirituality. And almond milk can be used for money, prosperity, and wisdom. Use rice milk when you're focused on money and protection. And you can use soy milk for protection, psychic abilities, and spirituality. Now, of course, you can eat your cereal dry or you can have it in a bowl. And I suggest using a bowl with some sort of color symbolism, or sometimes it might have like a symbol that you like a spirit animal, a design, or whatever. Now, I was doing some like quick online shopping because I like to suggest things for my viewers. I stumbled upon this set. It's a 6-piece, 24-ounce bowl set, which I think is just so cute, and they are porcelain. What I like about them is they come in pastel colors, as well as you can have like a black and white, which is like a neutral type thing. The purchasing information will be in the description box. And now I'm going to go into some food items for breakfast that require a little bit more than the use of a toaster or a trip to the bakery. Okay. So like when I look at these foods right here, the eggs, the grits, and the bacon, I go down memory lane. Why? Because these are the kind of foods that we would have like on special occasions on Sunday, okay? Now I had mentioned during the work week, the day week or the school day week, where, you know, the Monday through Friday schedule, where my mother would prepare us bowls of cereal and pancakes or waffles, you know, before we went to school. Now, mind you, those pancakes and waffles were not made from a batter at that time, okay? During the weekday, we used toaster style pancakes and waffles for, you know, the meal that we would have, our breakfast, before we went to school, because it was convenient, okay? Pancakes and waffles, well, I would say pancakes, because my mother had never made homemade waffles. I never had a homemade waffle until, of course, I was an adult, okay? But the pancakes were prepared by my father on Sundays, okay? Every once in a while, my mom would make the Sunday breakfast, but mainly it was my dad behind the oven being very serious about making breakfast, okay? And we always enjoyed that. So Sunday was a big day for us, okay? So when I'm looking at this particular meal with the eggs, the bacon, and the grits, what's coming to my mind is, of course, the good old days and what they represent. Now, when I'm looking at the eggs usually mean things like creation, new beginnings, and we're looking at pork. Pork is considered a lucky meat to some people. Now, I'm aware that some people do not like pork. Some people reject pork, all forms of pork. They don't even like the image of a pig around them. That's completely fine, okay? So you don't have to eat pork, but I'm explaining what it symbolizes to some other people. And I do understand that there's a lot of people who don't eat pork. I'm fully understanding of that. So far we have the eggs represent to me new beginnings, a lucky new beginning because I'm eating pork, and then also we're looking at the substance in that little bowl is actually called grits. Okay, grits was very popular. It's still kind of a popular thing down in the South, in the southern states. Okay, now my father spent time in the South, and of course we were introduced to grits, which are made of corn. Okay, now we know that corn is a form of prosperity, success, or whatever. So this is also on the plate, being served. Okay, so I'm going to kind of dissect each item on this particular plate, but in different forms. Okay, because we're going to start with the egg. When it comes to eggs, you can use them so many ways in magic. Eggs represent creation, which in the way I look at creation, I think of like starting something, maybe even having a brand new start at something, new starts. Okay, that's what I usually use eggs for. Also, eggs are good for healing. As you're cracking the egg, you're meditating on, repairing your body. That does not mean that you should replace it with any medication that you're taking. But what you're doing is you're using the egg as a form of symbolism to aid you on your way to healing. Okay. Eggs are also used as for protection, and they're also good for divination. Now, it's funny because when you crack an egg, sometimes, and it's very rare, but every once in a while you might stumble upon an egg with two yolks in it, okay? Now, a lot of people look at that as a lucky sign, meaning that you're in for good luck. It could symbolize good luck in prosperity. It could also represent you, or a representation of a warning or a notification that someone in your family might be expecting twins. Now, I had mentioned before, sometimes, symbolism does not mean the same thing in different cultures. For example, in Norse mythology, a double yolked egg represented something negative, meaning that was bad news coming. Now, if this is the first time you actually heard this, you can choose how that egg speaks to you, that double oak yolk egg speaks to you. Do you want it to represent good luck, or do you want it to represent bad luck? Okay, it's your choice at this point. But there are sometimes, you hear about these sort of things, and it's like, to me, this is how it works for me, okay? And let me know if you want to leave a comment. I'd be really happy to hear from you. When you hear of certain, maybe like old superstitions or old wives' tales, okay? And a lot of times people hear it differently. Like I had mentioned about people's palm itching, to have your right palm itch means you're receiving money. To have your left hand palm itch indicates that you're going to be spending money, okay? And some people have learned the opposite in different countries, okay? Now, what matters is how you absorbed it, how you processed it. So if you were taught at a young age that, a double yolked egg was a good thing, and then you meet somebody who sit, when they crack open an egg and they find that they have a double egg, they might be nervous because they believed in, or it's a sign to them. This is how it speaks to them based off of their knowledge. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so to me, when I get a double yolked egg, which I have, this is the strange part. It's very rare to get a double yolked egg, okay? But I have received two double yolked eggs within a year. Okay, now this isn't recent, but this has been in the past. Okay, and it is odd, but I look at this as a great sign. So take it how it resonates, and perhaps maybe you will stumble upon a double yolked egg. Let's hope so. Okay, and hopefully you believe that it's a good sign. All right. So eggs can be fried. Okay, they can also be made into omelets. They can be scrambled, and you can boil them. Now, when they're boiled, I know that I used to bring like maybe two boiled eggs for my breakfast, okay? And what breakfast was when I was at work, it depends, okay? Because like I said, I'm not somebody who gets hungry right early, first thing in the morning. So I usually pack like a small lunch snack pack bag or something, to where like maybe I throw in like maybe some eggs, maybe a piece of fruit or something to take with me. I usually take like 2 boiled eggs if I packed eggs, okay? And they're a great thing to, boiled eggs are a great way of like, having something on the go. Also, that during Easter time, people boil eggs and then they dye them. Eggs represent fertility, therefore, they are associated with sex as well. So, these are different ways that you can incorporate eggs into your morning ritual and identify and use the symbolism for your desires. Now, when it comes to breakfast cooking, I know a lot of people enjoy their bacon, and I know that that was one of our special Sunday items. And just like the fresh aroma of coffee, I think a lot of people identify the smell of bacon cooking in the morning, and it brings back feelings of nostalgia. But, bacon is in the category of pork, okay? And pork is considered lucky to some people. Like I said, some people have an aversion to the pig, but let's just focus on the people who at least can tolerate the pig. Okay, so we can have bacon. We have choices for a bacon. We have breakfast sausages. Sometimes sausages come in patties, and they also come in long, I'm going to call them phallus shaped, what do you call it, type tubular type shapes. Okay, and then also we have our ham steak. Okay, and they're all considered pork because they come from a pig. They're all forms of luck. Now, going back to the original breakfast plate that I was showed you earlier, now I was talking about grits. Grits is kind of a southern thing, and like I said, my father grew up in the South a little bit, and of course, grits were served in our home. And I got to tell you, I love grits. And grits are a type of porridge, I guess, made from coarsely ground maize, or hominy, which is basically corn. Okay, so I was hoping I could show different versions of how you could consume corn, not just grits, okay, but like other forms of corn, because corn's got great symbolism. But I couldn't think of any. I kept thinking, okay, what else? What other corn item can people eat for breakfast? And I kept thinking, okay, some people eat corn tortillas. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that a picture of a corn tortilla, which of course corn tortillas are what? They're round. Okay, so you got the round symbolism. Doesn't have a hole in it, but guess what? You could make one if you wanted to, right? When it comes to food magic, you can be as creative as you want. Okay, so like I said, you can put like a little hole into the tortilla, and it could serve kind of like the same symbolism as like a donut or a bagel. Okay, so now let's get back to the subject of pancakes. Now, I love pancakes, especially when I was a kid. My dad would get into the kitchen and he would make like the most ginormous pancake, like almost the size of the pan. And he would serve me about two or three on a stack of on a plate. And I always felt guilty because I could never finish them all. But what I love about pancakes is their flexibility. Okay, there's different kinds of pancake batter. Okay, I believe that it comes like in a regular standard pancakes type mix. Okay, or you can make them from scratch. They have like buckwheat pancakes, I think wheat pancakes. You can mix things with blueberries, make yourself blueberry pancakes like for protection. And when it comes to pancakes, you can pour the batter in the pan to create designs in the for pancake. Now, like I can't really claim to be a fan of Mickey Mouse, but when I make pancakes, I usually do make a Mickey Mouse shaped pancake, which I think a lot of people do. I think that's one of the basic, uh, what do you call it, shapes that people usually make it with pancakes. But you can make more. And actually, I have seen where you can actually have pancake shapers. If I can find some, I'm going to put them in the next slide. But you can, if you can, you can make them into stars, dollar signs. Adding maple syrup is another, what do you call it, like a money or money drawing type food, would be maple syrup. Okay, that would be great for money. If you are somebody who is into love, you could make a heart-shaped pancake. In this example, they show that raspberries are on top as like a garnishment for the pancake. Raspberries represent love, happiness, and lust. So on top of a heart-shaped pancake, if you're looking for a partner or something, this is something that you can meditate on. And as you're eating the food, you can visualize your ideal person. Okay. What else about pancakes I want to say before? Of course, adding butter is like, adding a spirituality, or visualize adding more power to your spell by divine forces. Also, there's different kinds of syrups. I know back in the day, I think boysenberry was one of my favorite syrups. Okay. You could choose like strawberry syrup. Like I said, if you're interested in looking for a partner, or you want to show yourself some self-love, you can make that heart-shaped pancake for yourself. Also, I have not tried it myself, but it has crossed my mind to use food coloring in pancakes, because I think working with color is fun. So like if you want to make a heart-shaped pancake and somehow be able to make it with pink, I know red dye can be a little tricky, and also a little bitter, but you might want to, experiment. And I really do want a lot of people who work with their hands, bakers, people who like to cook, to reach out to me with their recipes. In this case, like, if somebody, I know people make blueberry pancakes, you could try making a raspberry pancake, and if you are successful and it's a good recipe, make sure you send that in so it could be a part of the recipe catalog. Hey, it looks like I found a pancake mold. Okay, this one has a unicorn on it. Unicorns are mythical but magical creatures, okay, that are associated with creativity. Now you'll notice that this has some like a positive type affirmation, chase your dreams, into this pancake mold, and you can actually consume it and, visualize whatever your dreams are. Okay, I did put the link in the description box so that you can purchase this item if this is of interest to you. Waffles are another breakfast item that can be garnished with butter, fruit, and syrups, and I will have to say that I looked around for waffle makers that I thought were, it would be a good idea to show to my viewers. And I have to say, I thought this one was interesting. And this will be in the description box if you're interested in purchasing it. Why I like this is because they're like little building bricks. Okay, they are, okay, but made into a waffle. Okay, and not only would your kids like it, I'm sure deep down that inner child would like to play with that stuff too. Okay. Now, if let's just say, for example, you're an adult and you're focusing on getting a new vehicle, okay, you can actually build a little vehicle, and you can put some butter on top to like visualize being blessed, it being given to you, and whatever kind of syrup you want, and then you can consume it. You can also build a little house and do the same thing. Now, waffles and pancakes are very similar, especially when it comes to how you garnish them. Okay, when it comes to waffles, you can have them round. You can also be They can also be square. If you have a square waffle, you can cut it diagonally, which you will have a triangular shape. Okay, I'm just letting you think about the different options on how you can consume things and how you can use your imagination to your imagination, visualizing with adding sensations such as food. Okay, so I think this waffle maker is really cool and it's very cute, and I think the entire family would enjoy it. So I'm going to add it. Okay, another dish that I think that requires some more time in the kitchen. Okay, it's not a quick fix. You can't just grab it and go. But biscuits and gravy. Okay, now I would have to say, of any sort of representation, I think biscuits and gravy to me are like a godsend, a miracle, some sort of blessing directly from the heavens. And the reason why I say this is because it's one of those comfort foods, okay? People feel extremely satisfied once they eat it. And also, when I think about what biscuits and gravy is made out of, I have this sort of spiritual connection. First, we have the biscuit, right? Now, when it comes to biscuits and gravy, the biscuit has to be homemade. I know that they have like, those mixes and already prepared biscuits. But when I'm talking about home cooking, I prefer the biscuit made homemade. Now everyone's different. I'm telling you what my preference is, okay? So I prefer the homemade biscuits. Which bread is a form of bread, which bread is a representation of the divine, and it represents satisfaction and protection. Okay, that right there. And then what is used to flavor the gravy? Okay, the gravy, the main part of the gravy is flavored by the sausage. Okay, and of course, I love that spicy taste of the sausage. That is made of pork. Okay, so we have luck there. Okay, and then of course, where there's flour. I don't really have any sort of what do you call it, symbolism when it relates to flour. Although some people would say it's something that you could look at as something that holds things together. It might, like, yeah, it could be used as like some sort of bonding or glue or some sort of connection. Flour. Okay, now that would be one association. I don't really have too much of an association for flour. I know that you can make things out of flour, you know what I mean? And I guess whatever you shape it or mold it into is get in my mind is how I would look at flour. But everyone's different, and if you have some sort of association with flour, go ahead and let me know. Put it in the description box. I'd love to hear about it. Now, another ingredient in biscuits and gravy is milk. Okay, now milk, of course, is associated with love and spirituality, which are all the things that the divine would be described as, right? And then, of course, the seasonings in the gravy has, of course, the delicious sausage flavor. And the main spices that are driving that would be the salt and the pepper. And salt and pepper are both protective uh, spices. Okay, so I look at biscuits and gravy as some sort of like blessings they have. And also, when it comes to the color association, a lot of, like, you'll notice if you look through the food list, a lot of white colored items like cottage cheese, um, white colored cheeses, because white is associated with, spirituality, the divine, or whatever. So this is one of the reasons why, another reason why I look at biscuits and gravy as something, kind of like a blessing. Okay, so it would be put in that category. I wanted to leave this one for last, and I'm sure many of you were wondering why I didn't mention it earlier when I was talking about General Mills. General Mills introduced Lucky Charms in 1964. This cereal consists of multicolored marshmallows and pieces of shaped polarized oats that resemble symbols of good luck. The packaging and marketing features a leprechaun as their mascot, and he goes by the name of Lucky. For those who may not know, a leprechaun is a small supernatural being in Irish folklore, classed by some as a solitary fairy. They are often depicted as small, bearded, mischievous men wearing a coat and a hat. In later times, they were depicted as shoemakers who have a hidden pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. In 1964, General Mills management challenged a team of product developers to use the available manufacturing capacity from either Wheaties or Cheerios and to do something unique with it. After a visit to a grocery store, John Holohan, a product developer, came up with the idea to add bits of Brock Circus peanuts, which later became the idea for the marshmallow pieces for Lucky Charms. The advertising company employed by General Mills at the time suggested that they market the cereal around the idea of charm bracelets. So Lucky Charms was the first cereal to include marshmallows, which are often referred to as marbits due to their small size. Originally, Lucky Charms contained marbits of pink hearts, yellow moons, orange stars, and green clovers. Throughout the years, General Mills' marketing department found that sales performed dramatically better if the composition of the marbits changed periodically. Various features of the marbits were modified to maximize their appeal to young consumers. Over the years, over 40 limited editions were created that featured marshmallow landmarks from around the world. Now remember, the idea of Lucky Charms was to be modeled after a charm bracelet, and the marbits are the magical charms that belong to Lucky, the little leprechaun. Right? Okay, so each marbit has its own meaning or its special power. Now, the following interpretations of these marshmallows are current as of April 2021. And I'm just going to go ahead and pause it and let you read it, and I'll go on to the next slide after you're done reading. Okay, so I guess the question would be, can Lucky Charms be eaten for magical purposes? And I do know that when you're looking at this list, you can tell that a lot of these charms, yes, of course, they're magical, but they're kind of unrelated to each other when it comes to their purpose. Okay, yes, they're lucky, and yes, they vibrate some sort of energy when you're thinking about like symbolism. Okay, okay, the first one on the list was the heart charm, and I know the heart charm was in the box when I was a kid. I know the cereal was introduced in 1964. I remember it at the breakfast table, looking out of the box. I remember what it looked like, and I do remember the heart charm. Okay, now their definition of it is it gives life to objects. I would say love in general does give life, meaning it gives you energy, it gives you, you know, vibrancy, whatever that is, or should I say passion or whatever, passion for anything. It could be even enthusiasm. Okay, so in this case, it's kind of the same, the heart charm. And then they listed the star charm. The star charm, when I was a kid, it was a 6-pointed star. Okay, now I don't know, this list is current as of 2021, and like I said, I did get it from Wikipedia. Okay, I don't know if the star charm, what it looks like right now, but if you do, please leave a comment. I'd love to know. Now, they also have a horseshoe charm. Now, a horseshoe has always been identified with protection. I know a lot of people put them on their barns, and you've seen them on ranches. It's been like, it's a historical thing here in the United States. We all know what horseshoes are. Okay, now their definition is the power of speed. Now, maybe they associate the horseshoe, because when I'm thinking of the horseshoe, I'm thinking of it being on a building. And really, horseshoes do belong on a horse, okay, when you think about it. But I'm so used to seeing them on buildings, right? Okay, I guess, you know, and it all has to do with association. So if you were doing a spell, I suppose, and you were using a horseshoe because maybe you want to focus on speed, the urgency or whatever, why not use a horseshoe? Okay, like I said, it's all about association. So this is their interpretation, the power of speed. Okay, and the clover charm, that was in the box when I was a kid. Okay, and of course clovers are lucky. Okay, and the blue moon charm. Now, do you ever hear that expression, once in a blue moon? And people wonder, they've heard it so many times, but they don't really know what it means, right? Once in a blue moon. That means when a blue moon occurs when there are 2 full moons in a month. Okay, so like if it's June 1st, there might be a full moon. Okay, and I think it's what, every 28 days or so the moon cycle goes, and then it ends up having another full moon in the same month. Okay, so people who are practitioners and people who follow the moon phases look at this as something lucky. Okay, so this is why obviously it's a part of the box, right? It's a part of the cereal Lucky Charm lineup, right? Okay, now their definition is power of invisibility. Now, I do know that the blue moon is lucky, but lucky for what? All kinds of magic, I'm assuming. Okay, so they associate this with invisibility. Okay, that's fine. And you know what? When it comes to magic, like I said, pink may mean love to me, but it might mean creativity to somebody else, okay? We can go outside the guidelines of, just, even if it's universal, because there's always some sort of uniqueness within the group. And what I mean by universal, like you might go over to Italy and most people are going to recognize pink hearts as love, okay? And you can go over to Mexico and they're going to say the same thing. Okay. And you could go to England, they're going to say the same thing. And you can jump all over the place, and they're going to say the same thing. They're going to describe it the same way. Okay. And then there's always people who are unique and see something a little different. You know what I mean? And that's fine. Okay, so now you know what a blue moon is, huh? Okay, so now they have the unicorn charm. Now, when I think of unicorns, I obviously associate it with magic and creativity. Okay, their definition of the unicorn charm is brings color to the world. I would say that's something that magic does because it opens your eyes, right? Okay, so the rainbow charm, I grew up reading things like the Bible. Okay, so when I think about the rainbow, I obviously associate it with the biblical story of, promises, covenants, whatever. Okay, so that's what I associate rainbows for, that sort of thing. So their definition is power to teleport. Amazing. It's kind of cool because when I think about rainbows being in the sky, rainbows are phenomenal because you have this color streak in the sky, and it looks like the other half of it is touching the earth. It's an illusion, of course, but it's fascinating, right? So that's cool. Maybe somebody made that association in their mind. That's fine. And the last one is the red balloon charm. Okay. Their explanation is the power to float. When I think of balloons floating in the sky, because we've all seen them, and to me, it is kind of mesmerizing because you start looking one, and your first thing that comes to your mind is, I wonder where that's going to end up, right? Imagination, creativity is something that comes to mind. The power to float. Now, all of these unique little symbols in one bowl. You know what I mean? Wow. You could, I guess, I think you could use it in several different ways. Okay, if you are someone who might want to possess all of those qualities, which I think everybody would want all of that. Everybody, it seems like you'd be pretty much superhuman if you were able to acquire all of that, especially at one time, right? but and I don't think that that's something that's possible, but um, I think as somebody who is learning about um, little things about magic, people who are, fascinated, and people who are working with energy and kind of, working with food magic, becoming, associating themselves with symbolism, colors, shapes, that sort of thing, even as an adult, okay? Because I personally think eating child cereals is good for the soul, especially if you want to get connect with your inner child. Why not? You're not hurting anybody. Um, I think it's a good idea. You know what I mean? I think it's good for people who have an interest in those little, I call them creepy things mainly because, most people don't talk about those little, the things that or that interest us, but we're afraid to talk about because we kind of get beat down for it. Okay. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that to develop your interest and your enthusiasm for food magic or magic in general, I think a bowl of Lucky Charms would be great. Now, in my first video, because this is my second time recording this, okay, because I forgot my train of thought, which I do a lot, especially if I've been up a lot or a long time. But when it comes to this scenario of visualization in preparing food and eating food, it's the same thing. You're taking the food item and you are basically enchanting it. So, like for example, you wake up one morning and your bowls that you eat off of, if you can, even modify your table setting if possible, it's a way of you really connecting with the food and being able to focus properly, if that's what it takes. You know what I mean? So, things like tablecloths, things like napkins, even, different colored napkins tablecloths, mind stimulation is so important, and the ability to change what you're looking at as much as you possibly can. So that's why I'm saying, changing your cereal bowls, making sure it's a little different each day if you have a different goal. So let's just say, for example, you wake up one morning and you decide to use Lucky Charms as a way to keep you enthusiastic about your little magical journey that you're on, because you found a new interest. So you pick out a purple bowl, okay? Or maybe you get a bowl with a dragon on it, or something cool like maybe a bowl that has like a picture of Merlin on it or something. Something cool that, magical, or maybe something personal, or maybe something whatever. And you pour that bowl of cereal, and you basically say, focus on all the magical symbols in the bowl, and you can just say something like, allow me to take in all of what you represent. And, pour the milk. And like I said, there's different choices of milk. You don't have to stick with cow's milk. You can have soy, you can have rice, you can have almond milk. And they all have their own symbolism, right? Adding to whatever. And enjoy your cereal. You know what I mean? I do sometimes like to eat in the sunlight. If you have the ability to eat outside, that's always nice. Being in the sunlight intensifies your ability to concentrate on the positive thoughts as you're eating your food. If you're thinking about, like, for example, we're on the subject of Lucky Charms. You're eating Lucky Charms, and you can use that time as you're thinking about maybe improving a skill or whatever. You know what I mean? Just a general type magical wish, or something that's going to help build you up to being the kind of person that you want to be. I would call it a general use type of magical meal. You know what I mean? We have our blessing meals. We have this. I think this is a great cereal and a fun cereal, to eat when you're dealing with food magic. So anyway, I would love to hear from you if you have any ideas on any food items that you would like to talk about, or that you feel as though I missed and didn't mention. I would appreciate your comment down below. I would like to say that there are so many different foods that are available in the stores, and it's impossible for me to think of them all, and definitely you can't sit here and present all of them in one video. But you know what, there's always the next video or something else to talk about at a later time, and I plan on covering as much as I possibly can. I want to thank you guys for watching my video and supporting me, and I will be back with another one sometime later. Take care. Bye bye.